Date set and a location revealed. President Trump and North Korea's Kim Jong-un have finalized their plans for their high-stakes summit.
The announcement follows the release of 3 Americans detained in the communist North Korea. KCO 9's political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with the very latest tonight. Dave?
Yeah, and the hope is the rescue of the 3 Americans will kind of set the tone now for a very positive summit. We'll see about that. Tonight at the White House, there's both a sense of joy of victory and also the uncertainty of what lies ahead. Just one day after the 3 Americans were freed from that North Korean prison and brought home to America, the date and location for a historic summit meeting between President Trump and North Korea were announced. A summit that is surrounded with questions and uncertainty.
I think it's going to be a very big success. But my attitude is, and if it isn't, it isn't. Okay?
President Trump looking ahead to the summit with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un on June 12th, feeling optimistic but not wanting to set public expectations too high. He spoke Thursday night to a large crowd of supporters in Elkhart, Indiana, declaring that he won't make the mistakes that former Secretary of State John Kerry made in negotiating the Iran deal, which Trump trashed this week.
We're not going to be walked into an Iran deal where the negotiator, John Kerry, refused to leave the table.
But now comes the big test. Can President Trump convince Kim Jong-un to denuclearize North Korea? Certainly the release of the 3 Americans on Wednesday may be an encouraging sign about how far Kim might be willing to go on the nukes. And in an interview with CBS News, Vice President Mike Pence said there is reason for optimism, but also for caution.
What Kim Jong-un has said publicly and in discussions is that he is prepared to negotiate to achieve complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Those words are important, but we'll see what they mean.
And for now, most Americans seem to agree. More than half of those surveyed in a new CNN poll said they approve of the president's handling of North Korea. And more than 3/4 agree with President Trump's decision to meet and negotiate with the North Korean leader. Still, there are some critics in both parties who fear the president isn't treating Kim as the brutal dictator he has been.
It is so troubling to hear President Trump say that Kim Jong-un treated the Americans excellently. Kim Jong-un is a dictator.
Arizona Republican Senator Jeff Flake points to the death of American Otto Warmbier, who died quickly after he was released from a North Korean prison where he appeared to have been tortured, a charge Kim and the North Koreans deny.
I have been concerned about some of the rhetoric lately, calling him very honorable. Here's a guy who killed the last guy, Otto Warmbier, and has murdered some family members and a lot of people there. So I think we need to go in with our eyes wide open about what we're dealing with.
Others are hoping maybe North Korea really is ready to change, but still cautious.
Every time the North Koreans make agreements, they get sanctions relief, and then they break the agreement. So it's not time yet to pop the cork on this. On the other hand, I'm delighted that we're going to be entering into these negotiations, and maybe this time it'll work.
Now, the location for the summit, Singapore, is an island of more than 5 million people that has diplomatic relations and trade agreements with both the U.S. and North Korea. And it has hosted other big international summits in the past, including a meeting 3 years ago between China's President Xi and the president of Taiwan, a meeting which the Washington Post reports was the first such face-to-face discussion between leaders of those countries in 70 years. Lena, that's a long time.
Yes, that is a long time.
Yeah.
On another front, Dave, there's a report out tonight about a clash between President Trump and one of his cabinet members. What do you know about this, and who's involved?
Well, the reports are that it got pretty heated, and the entire cabinet was here witnessing. This was the first reported this evening by the New York Times. According to the reports, there was an angry screaming match between President Trump and Homeland Security Secretary Kirstjen Nielsen in front of the full cabinet. The issues that were illegal immigrants still crossing the border into the United States. The Washington Post reporting that the president, in full fury, asked her, "Why don't you have solutions? How is this still happening?" The Post says the tirade went on so long that some cabinet members were actually fidgeting in their seats. Nielsen reportedly defended herself, and afterwards she reportedly drafted a resignation letter, although a spokesman for Homeland Security denied there was any such letter. Jeff, Lena, back to you.